we told you about that Stanbic graphic business meeting for the year. It's the last of the series that the two organizations have been convening. The Stanbic Bank graphic breakfast meeting had focused many issues on the finance sectors, etc. And we have to go to the Labadi Beach Hotel, and the theme for this morning's breakfast meeting is financing free quality education in Ghana, sustainable funding options. And among the panelists of the panel will include Professor Enezaite, a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, and an economist, Israel Titi Ofer. And we also have Titi Ofer being the principal of SOS Herman Minor International College in Tema, and Professor Upukwa Mankwa, who is the Director General for the Ghana Education Service. We have Mama Vi Osabwaje with all the details. Mama Vi, good morning to you. Well, Mama Vi, good morning to you. You can take it over. Give us all the updates. Hello, Mama Vi.
Well, good morning to you, Roland. I'm coming to you live from the Labadi Beach Hotel, and you've said it all right. This is the last in the series, and what is going to be discussed later this morning here at the Labadi Beach Hotel is on the theme financing free quality education in Ghana, sustainable funding options. That conversation will be underway in a bit. But ahead of that, I've got guests in here. We want to start a conversation in here. And let me just introduce them to you quickly. Professor Jerome Jama is a former Director General of Education at the Ghana Education Service. Good morning to you. I also have Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah, who is former Vice Chancellor, University of Ghana, Emeritus Professor of Chemistry. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for being here as well. I thought it would be a good idea to, if we can trace, because you've been at the Education Ministry, let's look at senior high school education or secondary education as it was then. How far have we come?
Yes, I think we've come a long way. You know, we started from the days that secondary education was very, very competitive, and still is very, very competitive, because we've never had the kind of quality that many Ghanaians really want. So it's brought a huge inequity, you know, in access to education generally. To get into secondary school, you've got to take a competitive exam. You know, now we have the BECE. From BECE, you know, it is your performance that determines, you know, whether you attend secondary school or not. If you don't do well, you are out completely. Now, whether you attend secondary school, what kind of quality of education will you have? It depends on the school you attend to. So, education, especially as you move in the system, has been so competitive for so long that any attempt that the nation makes to ensure that it spreads and quality spreads, I think it's a good thing. So I saw this advertisement. I thought that really, I've been Director General of Education. I should know what's happening. So literally,
Did we make an attempt during your time to make senior high education or secondary school education free?
Well, I think it has been so for a long time. You know, with the Jobo report, which was produced in 1974, the attempt was secondary education spreading into grammar, technical, vocational, and so on should be, you know, fairly free. It should be available. I won't say really free, but available to as many Ghanaians as possible. So I think the concern has been around for a long time.
Yeah. Professor Diamond said there was also concerns of free affecting quality. What do you see from where you sit?
Yeah, well, before I move to talking about free and quality, let me stress that free education, free secondary education, with regard to tuition, has been in existence for a very long time. Previously, in days gone by, people paid for both tuition and boarding. And then in the early parts, when the Ghana Education Trust was established by Kwame Nkrumah, tuition became virtually free. But boarding and lodging was paid for. But there was also a scholarship scheme. In fact, there was a very effective scholarship scheme for both the brilliant people as well as those who had difficulty in paying their fees, to help them to cater for the aspect of secondary education that had to be paid for, mainly the boarding fees and other ancillaries. And this was the case for a very long time. So we have had some semblance of free secondary education for quite a long time. The present one, where everything is supposed to be free, almost everything, let me say it's almost everything is supposed to be free, is a novelty, which government is now trying. Now, when it comes to quality, naturally, if you expand anything and you don't have the right input, then you are going to affect quality. The area where quality has been most affected has been in the sciences, where provision for practical training has gone down considerably. Gone are the days when every secondary school child had at least 7 to 8 hours of practical work in all the 3 sciences, biology, physics, and chemistry, every week. Nowadays, it's a novelty. And if even people will have some practical training, you will find about 5 or 6 students sharing one facility. That does not augur well for quality.
So why do we have that challenge then?
It's because financing the provision of facilities has not gone hand in hand with expansion of the facilities, expansion of access. If you expand access, naturally, you must cater for those who are entering, both in terms of the facilities as well as the teachers who will teach. This has not been the case. And so the little that is available to be shared cannot stretch to cover everyone. And that naturally will affect quality.
Professor Jama, you've been monitoring what's we've rolled out in terms of this new policy, and we're talking about funding, which is an area where a lot of people are skeptical, whether or not we can make this happen, whether or not we can go a long way with this free education. What do you think?
Well, you know, I have not been monitoring very closely, you know, what is happening. That's really the reason why I'm here. I want to believe that when we talk about science, we want all students to have access, you know, to quality science education. That is what we had. And, you know, there was a time that when I was at the Director General and so on, you know, we established the Science Resource Centers. The Science Resource Centers, the whole concept was to have a number of schools in the catchment area have access to practical science teaching in particular schools. You know, I don't know what is happening now, but
well, we certainly don't have that.
No. You know, I would just say that I will only say that really every effort should be made, you know, and Ghanaians should be, I think, a little bit more sympathetic, you know, in terms of here is a country that has done so much in education, that is still intends to do so much more in education. And so how do you make it work? You know, how do you really make it work? You must have your science resource centers. Government should be providing the resources. Science teachers should have incentives. But without the incentives, you will not have the quality going to teach. But I think it is in the area of incentives that the state has not been very successful. You know, we have all the ideas. I think we know exactly what we want to do.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually delivering, I think that is really where we fall short. You know.
You see, the problem with the science resource centers was that a lot of schools started complaining that where the resource centers were set up and the transport provided for carrying students from one school to another became virtually the monopoly of the school where the center was situated. And so children from other schools who were supposed to make use of those centers, sometimes it would take about 1 hour to travel from your school, if you were a school without facilities, who had to use the Science Resource Center for your practicals. It would take about 1 hour for you to move to a center for a 45-minute practical, and then another 1 hour to come back to school. And so for a 45-minute or 1 hour practical, you may have to spend 3 or 4 hours of the day. So it was not very efficient. It was okay as a stopgap, but the final objective should have been to make provision for every school to be well equipped, and that calls for money. And if there is no money, you cannot provide good quality facilities for your science education.
So where we are today?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't, I wouldn't say. Okay, all right.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, go.
No. I want to listen to you.
Yeah, I thought you are sure where we are. I am just saying. I want to say that really, we ought to know that there are very few countries that have gone very far with free. What I mean is free funding at every stage of education. But you see, if you accept the concept of the Science Resource Center, that's where you start from. Then the rest is the detail. That is, what kind of equipment do you put at the resource center that is serving many schools? Vis-a-vis the resources that individual schools have. You must have both. Then, of course, we also have a science museum. Ghana has supposed to have had a science museum for a very long time.
Like that? I haven't heard of anything like that.
Still,
I will tell you, a science museum was started, or the building was started in 1963 by Kwame Nkrumah. It is still under construction, directly opposite the TUC office.
Okay.
It's only recently that it was made use of for the exhibition of the world, the International Day of Light. It was made use of, but otherwise, the building is still not completed.
All right. Yeah. So, Prof, did I cut you?
Yeah, I don't know. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want us to finish up with what the expectations are, particularly with today's breakfast meeting.
Okay. Well, I have come to listen. Probably just like my colleague, I've come to listen.
Do we leave funding totally to governments? You've come to listen.
I've come to listen.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Prof?
Well, I invited myself because I think I should understand what is happening.
Okay.
I care about it. I think the country needs something better at all times. So I want to, whatever cooperation that we can have nationally, to make things work. I think that is the best thing that will happen to this country.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. We're linking up now to the main hall to join Evans Mensah as he moderates this morning's session. Enjoy the breakfast meeting.
Thank you.